People, deluded, I'm back again. Obviously, it's the coronavirus. There isn't too much going on. There isn't too much to speak about. So I've called upon the help of a very knowledgeable person and someone I consider a friend. Let them know who you are, my guy. I already know who you are, but let them know, man.
Yeah, man, Aaron here. Thanks for having me on, bro. Pleasure.
No worries. No worries. No worries. Plug yourself, man. Let them know who you are, what you do and stuff, man, and how to find you, because you make some great Manchester United content. Um, Not obviously with YouTube, there's a lot of YouTubers who is all reactionary. I think he does a great job of keeping his emotions in check. And
Yeah.
really, we understand banter, but as an Arsenal fan, looking at United, there's a couple of people I go to look at stuff, and you're one of them because you cut through the noise. You say it how it is. You have your opinion. You consider another opinion, but you deal with the middle and the facts, and people take away what they wanted with that. So, yeah, man, I want to press you on Manchester United, but before we get into that, I hope you're well and safe and your family the same.
I am, man. Obviously, we're going through a tough time at the moment. The whole of Manchester's on lockdown, just as everywhere else. Yeah, man, we're just at home, just trying to stay productive, try to be creative and, put out different sorts of content. You should know that as well. As YouTubers, it's hard at the moment to put out
Bro,
content.
madness.
Nothing to talk about, you get me? So, yeah, man, obviously you can find me across all the socials, Mr. Aaron UTD. And yeah, man, just before we get started, I just wanted to say personally as well, like I discovered your channel 3 years ago, way before I even thought of being a football YouTuber. So to be
Bro.
on this channel it's huge
Oh,
for
bro.
me, man.
I appreciate that, my guy. No, man, I always like, you're good peoples, man. And it's sad to say you'd be surprised how many YouTubers are weirdos. I'm happy that you're a stand-up dude, man. You're just an
Yeah,
honest football lover. You're a genuine
yeah,
guy. Yeah, man. So we have to get more content, specifically content for your channel going. But the
yeah,
Corona thing's been bad, man. But I'm an Arsenal fan. I make Arsenal content. Tired of speaking
yeah.
about Arsenal. Let's speak about your club. First and foremost, how do you feel going into the coronavirus, having to stop? Because as an Arsenal fan, I won't say we turned a corner or we're playing amazing, but it felt last couple of games, we were getting a little bit of momentum. Lacazette was scoring a couple goals. Looked like we was getting over it. And, we've been hit with this sad epidemic. So how's it been as a United fan going into that? Has it been a relief? Has it been, like me, a bit frustrating or like what?
Mhm. It's been a bit of a disappointment, really, because we were starting to get informed. You know, the recent buy of Bruno Fernandes has really changed us completely.
Quality.
Quality player, man. And I was a bit, I'm not going to say nervous, but I just wanted to see how he fits into the team. And obviously, the first game that he played, I think it was Wolves, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was Wolves. It was a bit weird, man, because he was playing in that number 10 role, then had to drop deep because certain players were not doing their job correctly in their position. So it was like, okay, is the same thing that happening again? Is this a Pogba
Another player.
2.0? Because yeah, because he's had to do that for 2+ years now, 3 years. So, but then, we had the little 2-week break. They went to Marbella, did the whole warm weather training, came back, and you can see the difference. Now Bruno is literally the main man in midfield. Everyone's going to. He's always asking for the ball, asking to be involved. He wants to be involved in all the action that's going on the pitch, whether it's the set piece, whether it's moving the ball. He's always involved in something, and that's been something really positive. And we started to pick up points in the league. So yeah, this coronavirus is really coming at a bad time. But obviously, you've got to look at things in a different perspective. Obviously, you've got to be human and put your footballing fan side, to the side and just think about the bigger picture. But yeah, it's a bit disappointing that this is coming at this time because we were, going on a positive run.
I fully agree, man. And you know what? I wasn't planning on taking the conversation this way, but you kind of guided me to it. Bruno
Yeah,
Fernandes. Now, as an outsider, I have a couple of questions. As an outsider, banter aside, cannot fault him. I mean, I'll never know what it means to be a United player, but for me, he screams Manchester United player, not because of how
yeah,
good technical he is. He wants the ball. He don't just want
yeah,
the ball for the sake of wanting it. He wants to make like you said, he wants to make a difference in all aspects. Considering the man joined in January, as an Arsenal fan, it's effing scary. A full
trust.
pre-season, what this guy could be on. And as an outsider, like just before I called you, I tried to imagine a potential midfield, and I think Fred's been playing decent, as has Matic. And then you look at Bruno, and then I know Pogba's future's being spoken of a bit mad, but as a United fan, you must have flirted with what your midfield is going to be, assuming everybody stays, or, you know, if someone comes in, what will it shape? And yeah, man, what's your feelings on that? And especially, I guess, with the resurgence of Fred, or, you know, he's changed his career around at United. I think looking at it, like I said, Matic is playing decent. So, yeah, man, what's your feelings in relation to what you could say is positive headaches for a manager? Like, everyone's doing all right in midfield. You know, who's going to play sort of thing?
Definitely, man. For the first time, Oli could have a positive headache. He's not having to, you know, play midfielders 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games in a row. He can actually choose, you know, one midfield this game, and then in another competition, for example, the FA Cup or the Europa League, he can play someone else. So that's a positive. But if it was up to me in the league, let's say a very important game, I would go for a 3-man midfield in Matic, Bruno, and Pogba. Purely because I like to have, you know, one holding midfielder that's literally just going to break up the play, take the ball, and just move it on. Do you know what I mean? Because prior to Bruno coming to United, Matic just had to do multiple jobs at the time, which he was not really good at, because he's only good at, you know, breaking up play and just moving on the ball. But really and truly, before Bruno came, he's had to do that, and then he's had to be a creative midfielder at the same time.
Yeah,
which he's not really good at, because he's kind of slow and he's kind of one-dimensional, because he's always looking for that left foot. But now you look at Bruno coming in, that's one less job for Matic. So all he has to do literally is break up the play, get the ball, and just move it to Bruno or Fred.
More better players than that, yeah.
There you go. So it's been a kind of a ride, man, before Bruno came. So he's made things easier, actually. He's made things a lot easier.
You sound relieved, bro. You seem relieved, fam.
Trust me, man. To be honest with you, a lot of people are looking good around him now. You know what I mean? People like Matic, you know, we're praising Matic, something that has not happened the whole season. Trust me, everyone, when it was one scapegoat to be look for in the game, yeah, even when we won, people will still say Matic was the bad player out of the whole bunch. He's not really playing well. He's too slow. He still is, but he's looking better now with Bruno in the team.
Speaking of scapegoats, now at Arsenal, if you was to ask me to name scapegoats, obviously the Xhakas, the Bellerin's, Mustafis, Lacazette of today now, maybe to a degree Pepe-ish. I can name them. Who would be the scapegoats? Because obviously you said Matic. Pogba's definitely one, like Mesut Ozil. They, you know how that is. Who would you define as the scapegoats? I wasn't planning on asking that. I just wanted to know that, man.
Yeah, it's kind of different because the fan base is split a lot, man, here in Manchester. It's really weird, but I don't really have a scapegoat personally. But if I was to go off what people are saying when I'm at the ground and stuff, I would say Martial, man. I don't know why, but a lot of people claim that. Yeah, a lot of people say that he's lazy. He doesn't want to work hard on the pitch. He doesn't put in a shift. Bro. I see it completely different. I see it as Martial just being very cautious with how he uses his energy. When he has to do a sprint, he will do it, but he won't do it for 90 minutes because you do that for the whole game. There's no point. There you go. It's a culture thing. And by the time you hit 60 minutes in the game, you're done. You're finished. So a lot of people say that he's lazy, which I don't really see. I just think he's very cautious with the way he goes on about his energy, when he chooses to use it. And obviously, the big scapegoat is Pogba as well, you know, for a lot of fans.
Speaking about Pogba, man.
Yeah, I'm kind of tired of speaking about him as well, because as a fan, someone who's pro Pogba, I just want to know, like, do you want to stay or do you want to go? Like, and I'm not saying come out and have a press conference and make it clear to the whole world. Like, just give us a bit of signs in it. But recently, I've been seeing a lot of signs that the guy wants to stay. I believe with, obviously, the coronavirus now, I don't think he's going to Real Madrid, because a lot of clubs won't be able to spend as much money as they attempted to. So I believe he's going to stay. But yeah, if I was to go with the two biggest scapegoats, that would be Martial and Pogba, and Martial, a very, very big surprise for me personally.
Yeah, as an outsider, the Martial thing is a bit different, because as I look at Martial as an outsider, effing wonderful footballer. Like, I do think there's some question marks. I mean, he would be a striker for me, but is he playing of the standard to be a striker full time? Are you a winger full time? It's like a number of players. They're a bit half of one, 10 of the other. I say that's it really. And obviously, when you look at when Martial came to the club and you hear Ballon d'Or clauses and, you know, potential, a young French player and these things, it goes against, man. I always think perception and reality are different. Like, I do think, for example, Martial is going to be a quality player and a much better player than he is right now. But to a degree, it could be his story that this is as good as he's going to get. But it's been fans saying, you're going to be the next this, that, and the other. And I fall victim of that as well. It's like how much perception, or when we put our own spin on it, how much do we get away with reality? But when you look at Rashford and Martial, looking at you, I'd say Rashford's been probably the better player at a touch. But for you, who would it be? It's someone that's obviously more knowledgeable at it than me and is watching the games week in, week out. So, yeah.
I think it's definitely Rashford, man. If it wasn't for his injury, this would have definitely been his season. He was on course to have this was definitely going to be a 30-goal season because he was on 19 in 31 games, if I'm not wrong. So he was on course to have a great season, man. And he's been on form, but obviously with the recent reports coming out, he's been playing with an injury for 2-3 months. That really annoyed me because if there's one thing I don't want players to do is play through injuries. And I don't care how much you love the club. I don't care how much you want to have an impact on the team. It's really not good because if you aggravate your injury, that can affect your career. Do you know what I mean? And watching the Europa League and stuff, obviously, Van Persie came out and said that he had the same type of injury to Rashford. And it sidelined him for 2-3 months, and he's still suffering from it till this day. And man's retired. So if Van Persie saying that, if Van Persie saying that, Rashford should really be cautious of that type of injury. It's a stress fracture, and that's not to be joking around with. Do you know what I mean? So it's a double stress fracture, to be honest. So man, Rashford he was our best player by miles. Honestly,
I don't want to drop Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in it, but when I look at Rashford, obviously he loves Man United, quote unquote, and he does all of these things. It sounds like I don't want to say he was taken advantage of, but his youthful naivety of wanting to play for the club, wanting to do well. Potentially, if he was a bit older and a bit more street smart, and and things like that, he might have winded himself in a bit. I don't think not a criticism. I do think players play with injuries all the time, but I think Pogba or Martial, they would more say, listen, I'm not really on playing. But Rashford's a local boy. And when I think of Rashford, I think he's one of United's most used players, most frequently used players. And it's has he been taken advantage of? Whether it's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, whether it's medical team not really pushing and saying, yo, you know what, you need to take this guy out of the team. Short-term goals are not going to help us long-term, and things like that. Do you feel some sort of, I won't say bad blood, but bad blood towards Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to a slight degree? Because, he's the man making the decisions. If he does not pick Rashford, he doesn't play. Simple as, really.
Yeah, I think so. Excuse me. Yeah, I think so. He's definitely been taking advantage of that because he knows Rashford is a local boy, like you just mentioned. The fans love him as well. If you could see, the guy tweets every single day. His PR is fantastic, by the way, because when he picked up that injury, I think it was a day or two after he picked up that injury and it was announced that he was going to be sidelined for about 3-4 months. Came out and said, I will be back. I will be at every team meeting. I will be at every game. Do you know what I mean? So he knows how to win the fans' trust and the fans' love. So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been a bit stubborn when it comes to that, really. Not just with Rashford, to be honest, with other players as well. Pogba, he played injured against, who was it? He played injured against Rochdale. Then we played you guys at Old Trafford. He was injured as well. And that's when... Yeah, and that's where the injury got even worse, and that's where he was sidelined. And then he came back and we played against Watford, and a week later, reports came out that he was injured as well. So you could clearly see that even though the players wanted to play, there should have been a clear instruction yo, you're injured, you should rest. And this is why and that's something where the whole fan base of Man United is coming together and agreeing with. Our medical team is a joke, a complete joke, because there's too many times that players came back too early from their injuries and picked up another one. And it's not just this season, it's last season as well. When Ollie came in, I think it was, Liverpool at home. We lost 3 players in the first half. Lingard was injured, Martial was injured, and Rashford was injured. Luckily, Lingard and Rashford managed to get back on time when we played PSG in the Champions League. But Martial was done. He was finished. He couldn't play. So our medical team is a joke, man. So many players are being rushed back just for the sake of it, and even the manager as well. Ollie has to take some responsibility when it comes to that. Players coming back too early from their injury. So there needs to be a clear. How can I say that? There needs to be an authority. Do you know what I mean? Even though you can love a player, that's not wrong as a manager. But when a player's injured, he's injured, and you should tell your player, listen, I love you and I want to use you, but I can't. This is just how it is. Yeah.
It's gonna have the injury. Is gonna have to subsidize, and I do always wonder. I would say for Ollie, that's not just Ollie, but I always feel like when you come out, like Arsenal, it's completely different. But we can now come out that Hector Bellerin's been playing with something. Now, I'm not going to criticize Arteta for nothing, but it's like, how much are you not saving the player from himself? Because as an honest fan like me, I'm looking at Bellerin and we can clearly see he's injured. And against Chelsea, he was good. But we're saying, you lost a yard of pace. You're not looking like this. You're not looking like that. It's almost, I won't say setting up Bellerin to fail or setting up Pogba to fail, but it's like you're creating sort of issues where they are. Now, if the medical team have quote unquote said he's fit, if the player said he's fit and whatever, then I guess managers' hands are tied. But I fully agree with that with you. And I do think, if anything, that's something clubs should really specify more, that players are injured or, they've been playing on hidden injuries, because fans don't know that. Fans, I think,
Exactly.
in your line of work and mine and what we're doing, we know fans can be very illogical and stuff, but most fans, the honest man and woman and child, will, if you sit here and say someone's been playing with a broken toe, he's been playing with a broken toe, I should leave him alone, sort of thing. Like, it's crazy, and I do agree with that. I think Arsenal's medical team's doing okay. But I'd say for us, it's more recovery. It's more recovery. And again, I'll never be able to quantify like how much the injury suffered to Holding, Chambers and Bellerin, what it takes out of you, because it's a madness. But it just feels like obviously we're doing the medical work, but it just feels like it's always almost a slower than expected process. It's like once the players get fit and they're fully fit now, it's like, we're like, okay, what now? Like, what now? He's fit now. Like, what's going on now? We now hear he's fully fit. What's going on? And it's like, is he really fully fit? Then who's signing off? Like, I'll never sit here, and you haven't done the same, and sit here and say we know more than these doctors and physios, but what we aren't is idiots. Like, so it doesn't make sense. But I want to ask you before I forget about Fred. Now, Fred, I'm not gonna lie to you, Fred was an easy target for us non-United fans to get at. He's Brazilian, but his name's Fred. Makes sense. He's not playing well, is what it is. But looking now, I won't say it's, he's amazing in that, but he's found a role. He's been consistent and he's doing all right. He's doing all right for you. So what have you got to say about Fred, and what sort of role do you see him playing in the team? Like, does he get in I think you said it earlier, which he wasn't, but does he get in your best 11 within the context of United? Has he got a future here? Just your feelings on him, really.
I think to start with, I think he definitely has a future at Manchester United. I think he definitely does. Before we actually signed him, he was meant to go to City because Guardiola he really wanted him. I'd seen, I'm not going to say that I was watching him, but I'd seen some bits here and there when he was playing at Shakhtar. And I remember watching him and saying, "Wow, this player's actually good. He would be a good player in the Premier League." I never really said he would come to us. But then when we were linked with him and we actually signed him, I was surprised. So, but then for him to come to us and then Mourinho just completely phasing him out of the squad and not even playing him, that was weird, man. Like, how can you buy a player and then just not use him?
It's not using.
But then obviously, you view it from a different perspective and you think, okay, he's come from the Ukrainian league, with no disrespect, but the levels are clearly low over there. He comes to the Premier League where the pace of the game is incredible. It's incredible. And he said it as well in an interview recently. He said when he was in Ukraine, he would have time to turn, and when he got the ball, he'd have time to turn, time to pick a pass, look who's in front of him and whatnot. But he said once he came to the Prem, he said he would receive the ball, and before he even received it, he would have like 2-3 men on him. Yeah. So you look at as someone that you've obviously played football as well. You can understand that. You can understand that.
Adapting.
So that's when you go back a little bit and you think, okay, maybe he does need a bit of time. But the thing with Fred was all he needed was a run of games, and I think that is one of the things that Oli understood. As much as I may criticize Oli, that is one of the things that he understood. He kept on playing Fred, and Fred had something like a succession of 10-15 games, and he just kept improving and improving. And around November, December, he was our best player. And if I had to choose someone as best improved player over the season until now, I would say Fred, because he's improved massively. He's an engine in this midfield, man. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And I think as someone who analyzes the game a bit more in depth, like when it comes to tactics and stuff, he's a left-footed midfielder, but he doesn't just use his left foot. He's actually right-footed as well. But those are little things that people don't pay attention to.
Don't necessarily pick up on,
Yeah, so I would definitely. I'm happy with what Fred has done so far this season. He's improved massively, and if he can stay with us for another 2-3 years, I believe that he's going to be a squad player until Matic leaves, because Matic we've triggered his 1-year extension. So I believe he's going to stay a squad player, because I don't think it's good for Fred to play 20 games in a row. He needs a rest at some point as well. But you know what? I'm happy. I'm happy with Fred. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, like I've seen like like you, I've seen bits and pieces. The only thing I'm bewildered about with Fred, and it's actually like you said, you've taken the words out of my mouth. He's playing amazing. It just feels his role's completely different to what you like. The perception was, it's like I thought he was going to be not Bruno Fernandes sort of technical level, but like in a more an attacking sense. And it's almost like he more excels at. Obviously, he plays progressive passes and that, but primarily, you know, interceptions, moving it on, trying to get the players that are further up the field. I want to say involved because he's not. So it's more of it's like a box to box sort of role with covering sort of thing. So I think he's got a decent role now. Kind of in line with that, and to round this up, because I know you got to go at 6, and I've just seen the time, and I'm not really not trying to do that to you, my guy. Apologies. Transfers, positions. If you could sign off on the dotted line and dot I's and cross T's, who comes in? Not individuals. I won't. You know, we don't do that stuff, but like areas you want to invest in or address.
I think the first area we have to improve in is our right wing. That is definitely an area where we have to buy, and I would straight up go for Jadon Sancho. Go for him. I mean, as much as people say we're not playing Champions League, we're possibly going to play in the Europa League if the season gets voided and we have to restart again, so to say. If the package that you could present to a Jadon Sancho is, listen, we're Manchester United, we've got the history, look at what we've done, and I'm sure he knows that. So. And I hate to say this, but the wages could play a part in this as well. We could offer him massive wages. There you go, the marketability, and he could literally be. If he comes to United, I can see him being a poster boy for United and England. Because
I think he's gonna be a movie star, bro. Sorry to cut you off, but I think he's gonna be a movie star, man. I think he's destined.
There you go.
He's destined for it. Go on.
Because when Bruno came, I remember watching his Instagram account, and he was on like 500k followers or something. He came in, literally under a week, man hit the million. And I was like, wow, is this what happens when you sign for United? Because
that is the clout.
I never really understood, fathomed it, you know what I mean? But when Bruno came and I seen that, I was like, wow, this is actually what happens. So when Jadon Sancho comes, his fan base is just going to go boom, like global in like overnight, literally. So I'll definitely go for Jadon Sancho. Prior to Matic signing and us triggering his 1-year extension, I would have said another defensive midfielder, but now we've got Matic and Fred, so I don't know if another defensive midfielder should be a priority, because there was talks of Samare from Lille, there was talks of obviously the main names, Partey and Didi. These sort of. But I don't think Leicester will sell to us. I don't think Leicester will sell to us. I don't think they'll do that because they've already sold one of their main players to us in Harry Maguire. There was talks of what's his name, Maddison as well, but I believe he's signing a new contract at Leicester, and he would want to have that little taste of Champions League football if they qualify for it.
What about Grealish?
So sorry,
Grealish. Just off the topic of midfielders, Grealish, you take him?
Definitely, I'll definitely sign him because if the season carries on, I think Aston Villa will go down, which is something I don't really like, but I think they will go down and they will need the money to survive in the Championship. So I would say maybe 50 to 60 million for Jack Grealish doesn't sound too bad, but we know once Manchester United comes inquiring for a player, there's always that tax, and
that band's getting thrown in. The zero.
That's how we ended up paying 80 M's for Harry Maguire. But I would go for Jack Grealish. So, but overall, I'm happy with the positions that we have. There may be a little improvement, maybe a little bit of improvement on the left back position because I'm not too sure about Luke Shaw. I've been happy with Brandon Williams, but I don't think he's ready to play a full season as a left back. And it's only recently that I found out he's actually not a left back. He's a right back.
It's quite crazy. Testament to him, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's done really well in that position. But yeah, if I had to choose one position where we really have to invest in, is that right wing, because we need that width from that right wing. We need more width. We need more trickery, because I think Daniel James has done good. He's done decent, but he's too one-dimensional. It's too much of, that's just me personally. It's too much of run down the wing and cross it in. Like, you've got to have more to your game.
Yeah, there's a bit more technical and There
you go. Because if I'm a manager of the opposition and I look at and I have a team talk with my team a few days before playing Man United, and I look at Dan James, I'm just going to tell my left back and I'm going to tell my left winger, just double up on him.
Just double up. Let him knock it as much as he wants. Yeah.
There you go. And once your pace is gone, what else do you have to offer?
Mm.
So I think with Jadon Sancho coming in, Daniel James will look at it and say, yo, I need to fix up. I need to improve on this, this, and this. And ultimately, it's healthy competition, so everyone's going to get better.
So who gets to? How do I make this make sense? I'm gonna be honest. I think you lot need a striker. Just by looking at it, I think you lot need a striker, potentially a centre half. If I was Oli, just someone of quality. Who gets the striking role? Because Rashford, as great as he's been playing, I believe he's a striker. Just simply to play devil's advocate. Some people say he's actually better on the left. Martial, as you lot know, he's probably a striker, but it's a bit of like a couple of players at Arsenal, oohing and ahhing between the two. So who plays number 9 for you?
Between Rashford and Martial.
Yeah. Or would you bring in another 9?
It depends. It depends what we do with Igalo, innit? If he stays, then I don't think we'll get another striker in. I think we will keep on playing Martial up front. And I think Martial
completely. Shout out to him, man. He's been living his dream for completely.
Trust me, bro. He's living his dream, man. But yeah, I think Martial will carry on playing the number 9 role because he's better at, between him and Rashford, he's better at holding up the ball, getting involved in play, dropping deep, that kind of stuff. Rashford struggles with that a lot. He's the type of player who just fizz the ball into his feet and he actually faces his defenders where he can go past him, bit of trickery, bit of pace. He's got that in him. So Rashford has struggled. When he played that number 9 role when Martial was injured, he struggled so much, man. That's why he was getting hammered a lot by fans because he just struggled with everything, especially receiving the ball, having a defender in your back. He struggles with that so much. So I would prefer Rashford to stay on the wing, even though he is a good number 9. Just let him stay on the wing, fizz the ball into his feet, let him run in behind, do all of this stuff, get past defenders with trickery and pace. Let him do that because that's what he's good at, and that's how he's been getting a lot of goals.
Yeah, that's perfect, man. We're almost at 6. I'd love to sit here and speak with you some more, but like I said, he's got to go, man. Before we bust out, man, for people who maybe didn't pay attention at the start, let them know who you are in your socials again, man.
Yeah, man, Mr. Aaron UTD. You can follow me all across the socials. At Mr. Aaron UTD. It's easy to find me. And yeah, man, on my YouTube channel, I'm almost at 4K, so make sure you subscribe to my channel.
Let's get him to that. His link.
There you go, Adam.
In the description. Well, by the time this is out, his stuff will be in the description, the relevant stuff. So yeah, love for coming through, my guy. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it, man.
Again, seriously, like I said,
I'd love to, man. I'd love to.
We're going again, man. We will go again. Like I said, stay safe, man. In whatever you're doing, we'll speak again soon, man. People,
Thank you,
we're out.
bro.
Peace.